Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be back here. I don't know if any of you were here last year when I had the opportunity to sit and Pastor Mike had interviewed me, and it's an honor to be back. A little bit different format. I actually get to come and preach to you today, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure which one I like better. When you have multiple services, it gets a little weird. I go to a church that we just have one service, and y'all have three, so this is number 2. So there's a couple of you who look familiar. The pastoral staff are like here the whole time, so they got to hear me 3 times. Y'all pray for them, okay? Pray for them. I have some ADDs. My daughter tells me I have ADDs, ADHD. Ha 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 ha. I'm somewhere between a Bible teacher, preacher, and stand-up comedian, and I'm a little scatterbrained. So if you can't stick with me, I apologize. Just laugh at me if you need to. It's fine. Okay, I'm okay with that. But it's an honor to be here. I have attended or been in special services in this church many, many times, but have not had the privilege and honor of being here on Sunday mornings. This is just my second time, and I love it. As Pastor Curtis shared, went to college with him and Micah, one of your keyboard players, and met a lady earlier in the first service that was a Lee alumni. Went to Bible college and studied to be a pastor. God called me to be an urban missionary, and I found my way back to Baltimore. I'm from South Baltimore. I serve in South Baltimore. I like to think of that as my hood, and that's where I do most of life. And it's an honor to be here. For those that don't know City of Refuge, I have a few slides I'll introduce to you. I think I'm not sure. Whoever runs the media, poor guy. I was all over the place this morning, so they just went with me. When in doubt, just put that first slide up. It'll be great. But City of Refuge Baltimore is a faith-based nonprofit organization. We started in 2018, and our mission is to bring light, hope, and transformation to individuals and families. Our goal is to be a one-stop shop for people in poverty and crisis. We do the work. See, this is where I'm going all over the place. Y'all bear with me. They told me I got 5 minutes. That's not true. I got more than 5 minutes. I guess you just said the pastor lied. No, I'm trying to tell a joke, and I just realized I might have lied. I wasn't lying. I was just trying to be funny. But we do the work through what we call 5 impact areas. Pastor Curtis mentioned them, but we focus on health and wellness, primarily food insecurity. But we do have health, physical, mental, and behavioral health partners. We also focus on workforce development, youth empowerment. We focus on supportive housing, and we focus on anti-trafficking. So you don't know me, I don't know me. I'm saying 1,000 times because I'm a little nervous, all right? You have to bear with me. I consider this to be an awesome responsibility to come and stand in a pulpit and have the opportunity to preach the word of the Lord, especially after the Lord moved in such a way. I started to text Pastor Curtis in the middle of his leading worship. I thought that would be a little inappropriate. So, but I started to say, don't worry about me preaching. You just go ahead and lead the worship. It'll be good. It'll be good. And then he got done. He said, well, you got 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, boy. Okay, no, he gave me a little more than 5 minutes. Actually, I got 5 minutes left. No, I'm fine. Just woo. Here's what I mean by a one-stop shop for people in poverty and crisis. A young lady by the name of Claudia, she was coming to our food pantry, and she was an immigrant, first generation, barely spoke any English, and she came. We serve a very bilingual population. Matter of fact, over the last 12 months, we served over 5,000 unique households across those 5 impact areas. And but Claudia is one of those 5,000 households. Thank you. To God be the glory. Sometimes I'm like, but Claudia came in the door to get food pantry. She saw a little flyer that said, on Saturdays we have this class called English Language Learning. And so she decided to come to our English Language Learning class. And while she was in the English Language Learning class, she walked in the door, signed in for that class. And there she saw an advertisement for our very first culinary arts job training program that we offered last, I think it was January, February. We had 10 students in that first class. 100% of them graduated the culinary arts program with their food manager serve safe certification. Claudia was one of those. I had not met Claudia at this point, didn't know who she was. I think I had walked through while she was in class, waved hello. I speak a little bit of Spanish, un poquito. For those of you who speak no Spanish, that means a little bit, right? I can say lots of like Christian things. I can say, Gloria a Dios, Iglesia de Dios, which is Church of God, right? I can go to a Spanish-speaking country and survive because I know how to ask for the baños, that's the bathroom, and I know how to ask for agua, which is water. Other than that, I'm doomed. And the Lord has put me back in my hometown of South Baltimore, which when my parents grew up, my dad grew up in Brooklyn. It was a predominantly white neighborhood. When I grew up in South Baltimore and Brooklyn, it was a predominantly black and white neighborhood. And while my kids have grown up in Brooklyn, it has now become a black, white, and Hispanic population. Matter of fact, it's the second largest Hispanic population in the entire city of Baltimore, next to old school East Baltimore, where they got second and third generations. But we're mostly first generation. And Claudia comes into the door, and she's now in this culinary arts program. So they're like, hey, Pastor Billy, we're graduating our first class. We're going to celebrate it and take some pictures. And I show up, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm taking a picture, and I'm there with all these, because our culinary arts program is actually in Spanish. It's the only, as far as I know, the only culinary arts Spanish-speaking program in the entire city of Baltimore, although I've been told 51% of the restaurants in Baltimore City, the back kitchen, are actually Spanish-speaking. I don't know if that, somebody told me that. I don't know if that's true. But, you know, I heard it from somebody. That's what preachers say. I heard it from somebody, you know. I really did hear it from somebody. I didn't make it up. But Claudia is in that class, and we're taking pictures, and, I'm already a really big guy. And I'm with these folks that are a little shorter and a little smaller, and I'm there in this picture with Claudia, and next thing I know, we need to hire a couple people to work in our kitchen. We had gotten a grant to serve 1,000 meals a week for the entire year of 2025. And I said, what better place to hire somebody than somebody right out of our own culinary arts program? And so we gave Claudia a job, and it was a part-time job, but we gave her a job, and she was making it and getting by. And then somebody on my staff came to me and said, Claudia is homeless with her 3 kids. And I said, what? I said, how can she be homeless? She shows up on time. She works hard. She goes home. I've never heard her say anything. I mean, she speaks Spanish. I mean, not like, I never heard her complain. But they came to me and they said, is there anything we can do? And it just so happened that one of we now have 13 beds. Last year it was 10 beds, but y'all helped us put 3 more beds under roof for permanent supportive housing. And so we were able to move Claudia into one of those homes that we have with her 3 children. And so we were able to provide some stability. She ended up homeless because really a domestic violence type situation. And it was a very challenging circumstance. And then all of a sudden, now I really got 5 minutes. Y'all aren't listening fast enough, okay? Get with it, people, all right? I need you to listen faster. I got 5 minutes, okay? And so Claudia is in our house, and she's living in our not my house, like one of our homes and permanent supportive housing. And she's in the English language learning, and she's getting by. And she walked up to me just before Christmas, and she walks into my office, and her English is getting better. She's taking English language learning classes, and she gives me this present. And I'm like, why is she giving me a present? And she gives me this present, and then she calls somebody in and to translate for her, and she said, I can't thank you enough for what you and City Refuge have done for me and my children. And the cool part is that now Claudia, who once was just coming to our food pantry, now comes to our church. She listens to me preach through Google Translate. It's the coolest thing. She worships with the music. We put English and Spanish on the words together as best we can. My sermon slides usually have English and Spanish. I didn't do that for you here today. I've not even followed I came to preach a sermon. I didn't preach it in the first service. I'm not preaching it now. What's going on with me? Preachers love to preach, and I'm not even preaching. It's something going on. But Claudia listens to me translate, and I've just watched her grow and blossom. And her little daughter, who was in elementary school, and she walks up to me and she just gives me this big old hug, like, like what's going on? And I'm thinking to myself, ooh, this is what we mean by light, hope, and transformation, because when you meet Jesus, the rock on which I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. When you meet Jesus, everything changes, you see. Your body changes, your mind changes, your spirit changes. God changes you from the inside to the outside. It's the God we serve. He's the cornerstone. He's the rock on which I can stand. Amen? And I realized something in this work, and I could, 5,000 households, I feel like I could tell you all kinds of stories, but now I got 3 minutes. But hear me, beloved church of God. Hear me, Life Source International Churches. Hear me this morning. Hear me. We've got to be light bearers. We got to let God's light shine in us and through us. I had seen Claudia, never really met Claudia, and here she is walking into my office and saying, thank you for everything you've done for my family. Quite honestly, I did my best to let God's light shine in me, but my staff was able to reach her like I couldn't. They could communicate in Spanish to her. I couldn't. Matter of fact, I think I got 5 people that work on our team that come to church here. Y'all are good people. One's right over there. And the rest heard I was preaching and said, I'm not coming. That guy's my boss. No, I'm just kidding. Are you here? I'm giving them a text message. It's a very different direction, it's sort of kind of, but I just want you to hear something from me. Claudia came from a country where she didn't have any hope. Come to our country because she thought there might be some hope. And then she hit some really hard times. God sent some hope dealers. I love y'all's little pitch. Bringing hope and freedom to all. You don't get to do that unless you're light bearers. You're bearers of God's light. Then you can bring hope and freedom. Freedom is like transformation, right? Take you out of bondage. A little did I know that Claudia's life and her spiritual journey, as well as her physical journey and even her financial journey, would begin to be transformed. And it's because she brought her kids here for a better life. I don't want to get into the politics of where you are about immigration or anything like that. I want you to look beyond that and see the soul. See someone who needed God's light and hope and transformation. And that's what we do every day at City of Refuge. That's our goal. It's to sort of walk with Claudia. As I like to think of myself. Anybody Star Wars fans out there? I like to think of myself as like a Yoda. This is the way. You know what I mean? Like, go you must. Here we are. You know, it isn't our journey, right? I don't save anyone. Matter of fact, I'm just a broken boy from Brooklyn. Not New York. The real Brooklyn. South Baltimore, baby. Whoop, whoop. I'm just the boy from Brooklyn who moved around a whole lot, who found Jesus when his drug-addicted parents were on court-ordered methadone. They got off of court-ordered methadone and turned back to their drugs. But God saved this old boy. I found Jesus, the rock on which I stand. And I've learned in my life that all other ground is sinking sand. I can't stand on a family foundation. I mean, I had 2 praying grandmas. I give them a lot of credit for where I am today. They're both gone and home with the Lord. My dad died when I was 21 in college, and my mom died in 2014, and she died getting well, getting sober. And I have that blessed hope. My grandmother, my dad's mom, told me that when my dad died, he was trying to get better. I was in a very broken and unhealthy relationship with him at the time. But hear me, beloved, and I'll close with this. I'm past my time. Don't hurt me, Pastor Curtis. It's good. Pastor Mike's not here. Don't tell him. He might not have me back if he knows I preach too long. If he's watching online, you guys cut that part. I feel like I've been in the presence of the Lord. God woke me up this morning at about 5 a.m. And I thought I knew what I was supposed to preach. I actually was going to preach from Ezekiel chapter 37. I had a really cool sermon. And I walked into the presence of the Lord. I sat over there while they were practicing before the first service and sat through the first service. And I continue to feel the strong presence of the Lord in this place. And I think it's because maybe God just sent me by to tell you that no matter your circumstances, your life situation, whether you were raised by chemically or drug-addicted parents, or whether you've been through some hell and high water, as they might say, whatever it is, listen, if you can get your feet on the solid rock of Jesus, if you can stand on the solid foundation that is the Lord, I'm a firm believer. I'm telling you, my life should be messed up. I got ADD, ADHD, my daughter ADHDs. I am a dysfunctional human being. I'm an adult child of chemically addicted parents. I once went to this thing called Celebrate Recovery, and I went to this small group about that, and I started weeping and wailing because I was like, I'm messed up. I turned to food to comfort me. That's why we gave 1,350,000 pounds of food away this year to over 5,000 households, because I like food, and so does Jesus. I'm closing with this. No matter life circumstances, no matter what 2024 has brought you, you have an opportunity before 2025 ever begins to start with a new foundation. I'm not much on New Year's resolutions because I tend to break them before January 31st, before January 8th. When y'all doing that prayer summit before January 4th? But the one thing I try to do at the end of every year is to thank my God for His grace. I have found joy in chaos, Pastor Curtis. Peace in the middle of the storm. All because I made a decision to make Christ my firm foundation. If you've not made that decision today, God sent this urban missionary, this street minister. At the core of what I love to do, man, put me out on the street and let me talk to a stranger about the good news of God. I can't relate to them out of a mutual addiction. I can relate to them out of being a child of heroin-addicted parents. But I don't need to relate to them. I need them to see the light that's in me. Because when people see the light that's in you, then they find hope. If you're going to bring hope, I say it like this, I use this phrase all the time. I think it's on my Facebook page. You can go look before I change it. So you knew I wasn't lying. I might have lied earlier, but not now. I'm really off on my time, but I say bringing hope to life. That's what I do. I'm a hope dealer. At the core of who I am, I'm here to bring you hope and remind you that going into 2025, as you end 2024, you need a firm foundation. You need a rock on which you can stand so that when chaos comes, the craziness of your home or your household or your history or your background or the sinfulness you live in this morning, there is a God in heaven who sent his only son to die on a cross that you would have life. And he says, come and make me your cornerstone, your firm foundation. Stand on the rock. And I have found that he never, ever, ever, ever failed. So many times I have tripped and stumbled. Many times I have had to pray, Lord, let me understand your will. Conform me to what your plans are for my life. But God has always, 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 since I met him in year 1990. I'm not really that old. Yes, I am. You need a firm foundation. You need Christ, the solid rock. Every time I've stepped off the rock in the last 30-something years, every time I've thought I could stand on something else, I have failed. Will you stand with me all over this place? As you end 2024 and you go into 2025, you, like me and Claudia, ought to find Christ, the solid rock. You ought to find Jesus. If you don't know him, you ought to know him. I heard you singing, so I know there's a lot of you that do. You've been in his presence. Don't leave here without it. May God bless you and keep you. And his grace ever shine upon you, my fellow hope dealers.